it just gives us it introduces quite a few characters, some major ones, Cecil, Adam Eve, Robot, like people that as well as Alan the Alien, which is another one I was like, and we'll talk about it more, but I couldn't remember like how early he showed up or not. I didn't know it was this early. Yeah, a good episode, and there's a lot of just good like suspense slash tension, just because we saw what happened at the end of episode one, but no one else did. So kind of seeing how that plays out.
Mhm.
But yeah, good episode. What do you think of episode two?
Yeah, so interesting watching it. This is my third time rewatching it. Um, it's so interesting watching it knowing, first of all, knowing that we know, knowing we no, knowing that Omni-Man is the one that murdered the Guardians of the Globe, but also like knowing how everyone finds out too. It was I think it's an incredible episode, but I think it was a little less like interesting upon a third watch because we kind of know what happens down the line. Uh,
Hmm.
but again, like you said, we're introduced to a lot of good characters and a lot of things happen. I just think everyone trying to figure out like who killed the Guardians, I was like, guys, he's right in front of you. Um, but it was still a good watch. I mean, every episode kind of has really, really great moments. So,
Yeah.
and I think what I like the most from this episode is seeing the teen team fight
Hmm.
the Martians or the Flaxons. I think that's really, really interesting, and we start to get into a good rhythm of like who these characters are and what their abilities are.
Did you remember that they were introduced as like the teen team first, like before they become the new Guardians?
I think I remembered that just because there's those like moments of dialogue with Mark where he's like, "Oh my God, you're in the teen team," like, and Adam Eve's like, "I'm gonna take you to the teen team." So I think I remembered. I have really good memory.
I didn't quite remember, honestly.
You
Um,
just think they were just superheroes, just chilling.
yeah, I mean, I couldn't remember if they were all just kind of like, or like we were kind of introduced to them like as they're all being initiated as like the
Oh,
new
I see.
Guardians.
Yeah,
Because that's where we introduce like, and we'll get there, I guess next episode, 2 episodes from now, like Monster Girl and Shrinking Ray. But I couldn't remember like all of them, kind of where some of them were introduced. Um,
yeah. Mhm.
like I don't know, I'm so used to Adam Eve now just being like kind of a loner.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
that it was like almost like surprising seeing her like just with a group like the whole time. Um, but yeah, pretty cool. Robots really, I forgot how sick he was.
Yeah, me too. I was like, bring the OG robot back.
I know.
He
I
doesn't
think
have
though,
emotion. We're anti-emotion on this team.
yes, anti feelings. That Pixar movie Inside Out is just propaganda.
Panda. Oh my God.
Um, you don't need any of those.
No.
Um, yeah, but good episode. There's quite a bit to talk about. I mean, like I said, like we introduced some kind of major players here. Um, Primarily I would say Adam Eve, and then Cecil and Alan the alien are pretty big ones. But honestly, like the flats and stuff is fun. The stuff that I think I'm that hooks me the most in this episode though is the Mark and Eve stuff.
Yes.
Uh, Kind of just right off, I didn't remember like how that those relationships start. Also like with Amber,
Mhm.
and I forgot like how just kind of right out of the gate, like the show wants you to root for Mark and Eve. Like it sets them up before it sets Mark and Amber up, which that I wasn't. It had been a while since I had seen some of these smaller scenes.
Mhm.
Um, but go team Eve.
Yay! I'm excited to talk about that more, and of course, our man Alan the alien, and that post-credit scene with Damien Darkblood, and just seeing Mark live his life and trying to navigate it being a superhero is really interesting.
It is really interesting. There's so many, just like him. Also with the flat or the yes, the Flaxons, like him kind of realizing how brutal the superhero life is and how they show that. Like again, stuff that I didn't quite remember, especially because I'm like so used to him just pounding on people.
Mm.
Um, but it's cool like the show does take the time to like have its main character have to adjust to what would be such a like it would be such a big adjustment like just joining like the military,
Yeah.
or becoming like a police officer, like
Wow.
someone that has to deal with kind of traumatic situations, and then this is like almost that next step further, like fighting aliens as they slaughter your race.
Yeah. Well, and also like considering that his dad is like in the hospital while like a majority of this episode. So he like can't even talk to him and be like, "Dad, like what do I do?" He just has to be an independent.
Yeah,
And we don't we
it's
don't see like Cecil intervene at all. I mean, we see Cecil ask Robot like how he did in that fight, but we don't see like him really talking to Mark all that much.
yeah. Do you think it's I was watching it and I was like, okay, this is the teen team, right? Like it's Adam Eve and Rexplode and Duplicate, clearly visibly younger. And then you just have Robot who's like, how did he end up on the teen team?
I think Cecil was like, they need some kind of leader because
Yeah.
he does like kind of coordinate everybody being like, there's this over here and this over here, but then we hear Rexplode be like, yeah, I know. So I think being teenagers, they were like, he needs like, they need some kind of guidance. They can't just go out there and fight crime by themselves. Like, imagine like high school you pairing with
Yeah.
like not even like your close friends and just like fighting crime. Like that that would not be successful.
That is pretty wild. I think it's also like because they're all like animated, so like
Mhm.
i- in terms of like what actual age they look like, you can argue it. And I feel like usually when we see like superhero TV or movies in live action, like they always cast a little older. Like Tom Holland is like 20 playing 16 or whatever, and that's like a big difference.
Mhm.
Um, but like I'm thinking about like how high schoolers actually look, like 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, like
Yeah.
they're all like so scrawny, they're just so like baby faced. It would
Mhm.
just be weird seeing people that young like fighting aliens.